Phoenix Down Radio is on the air.
Welcome everybody to Phoenix Down Radio, episode number 188. I'm your host, Klauss Nightbringer, and joining me is Seyrr Timono. Seyrr, how are you today?
Oh, I suddenly want to play Mahjong again. I'm not going to play Mahjong in the middle of a podcast, but otherwise doing pretty well.
Aside from us not obviously being in Vegas right now, that's...
You know what? I'm okay with that, given what I've been hearing about the logistics planning or lack thereof. I am pretty sure I'm happier here. Plus, I asked someone to pick me up a culinarian pin.
Okay, well, as long as you got the stuff that you wanted coming, that's pretty awesome. Like I said, I've been keeping tabs of what's been going on in Vegas this weekend, and like I said, initially I was melancholic, to be honest with you. I really wanted to be in Vegas. You know, when they announced the date, I had a hotel booked already, and you're just anxiously waiting for those tickets. Unfortunately, I did not have very good luck when it came to the whole lottery system. But you know what? I'm not going to let that bother me too much, because we're here now. We have some news to talk about regarding FanFest, as well as some other Final Fantasy stuff. But what have you been up to since the last episode?
Oh, so I mean, honestly, some library summer camps have been dominating most of my time. I haven't even really been able to get much start on Final Fantasy 16, which I'm still disappointed about. But I did start leveling my Blue Mage. My Criterion group is making plans for how we're going to approach Mount Rockon, so I'm having a little time for game stuff. This is just the busy time of year for libraries. I am helping out now at a branch that is next to about 4 or 5 high schools that return to school, I believe, the week after next or next week.
That seems a little early, doesn't it?
Yeah, like the school schedules are weird now. A lot of them didn't get out until well into the first or second week of June.
And they're starting back up in August again?
Yep.
Wow. I thought usually summer vacation was 3 months. At least it was when I was a kid.
Stuff is continuing to change.
Yeah. Well, I suppose, we didn't have a ton of vacation time during the school year. So, and they're adding more of it into, like, they're extending Christmas vacations and things like that. So I suppose in order to do that, they're having to end the school year later and start it earlier. So I guess it kind of makes sense. I know a lot of other countries, isn't it like in Japan, they only have basically like a month off?
Something like that. Though they also have some more vacations, some like other breaks throughout the.
Yep.
I know for the U.S. the long summer one is in part because of like agricultural history and things relating to that.
Mm-hmm. Because a lot of the farm kids would end up working the farms during those summer months, because that is a lot of times a very busy time for America's farmers. Growing up on a farm, I had to go through a lot of that as well. So yeah, I mean, and it's very different in different locations, I suppose. So yeah.
Yep, different patterns, different things going on. Like Golden Week.
Yep, all that fun stuff like that. As far as me, it's just been a lot of work. Hanging out with the girlfriend, having some fun with that. Went to a couple of breweries today, which was really nice. Tomorrow we're going to a county fair. We're going to hang out and have, way too much deep fried food, as you must.
Do county fairs exist for any reason other than to deep fry things? I'm doubtful.
Also, so people can drink beer at beer gardens and watch cars crash into each other.
Some of the farm displays are actually really cool too.
No, yeah, exactly. There's a lot of agricultural and crafting displays. 4-H, FFA have their stuff that goes on, and like I said, it's really kind of neat thing to bring the community, the county together and celebrate the summer a little bit. Plus, like I said,
all of our listeners, if you live somewhere where you can go to a county fair, it's kind of nice to just get out and see a bit of different things, like learn a bit more about a lot of the agricultural stuff that your region offers.
Exactly, and plus you get to eat a lot of deep fried food.
Yes, It was not until I looked into the stuff about county fairs that I learned that you could deep fry butter or Dr. Pepper.
Coke, Oreos,
Like,
Snickers.
the sheer creativity of, we are going to deep fry this liquid. It is a testament to the pioneering spirit of something or another.
Yeah, it's not all that. They just swap out water for the soda.
Yeah. Yeah, you make a batter, you swap the soda, you have to play a little with proportions, but still.
No, it is the butter one is more. They take frozen pats of butter, coat it in batter, and deep fry it. And then when you bite into it, you've got melted butter inside that kind of just oozes out.
Yeah, it's a little tricky to eat. I know you can also deep fry a soft-boiled egg, which mostly involves freezing the egg so that you can like bring it to temperature with the deep frying and have the egg inside be like soft-boiled with the shell off and everything.
Not cooked completely. Yep. So I will say freezing eggs can be problematic, especially if the center is a little bit liquidy still.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've ever tried to
in
freeze,
the case of the soft, yeah, go ahead.
If you ever tried to freeze a raw egg, that is not a good thing.
I mean, that's what you need to do for the for like a 10-quarter soft-boiled egg.
No, I completely
like
understand.
You need to freeze it so that the shell will come off. But then, yeah, you want to handle that very carefully, or else it starts melting and then there's egg goop all over the place.
Yeah, I doubt they're gonna have deep fried eggs there, but yeah, well, I'm sure. I think we'll settle for corn dogs and funnel cakes.
Oh my god, I could murder a funnel cake right now with powdered sugar and chocolate syrup.
Oh, they're delicious. Actually, there's a food truck around here that does fair foods that are gluten-free, and they include things like corn dogs, cheese curds, and funnel cakes. It's all gluten-free batters.
Oh my god, cheese curds! I need cheese curds. Klauss, cancel the show. I'm getting cheese curds.
You heard him, guys. We have to cancel the show. Just kidding. We're not canceling the show for your cheese curds, Sarah. You can get them afterwards. Realistically, if you were to order them right now on Grubhub, it would take until the end of the show for you to get them. He's gonna do it.
Okay, while I take care of that, maybe we should get into a little bit of our community news.
But before we do that, let's go ahead and thank our Patreon producers, Nick Nar, Aurori, Ravenheart, and Mika. Thank you so much for all of your support in helping this show continue to do the things it needs to do. So we're going to start off with a little bit of a update on some news we talked about in the last episode regarding the Final Fantasy IX remake. The remake may be real, but a lot of the recent leaks are not. This comes from Push Square. Let me copy and paste this link. Thank you, Liam Croft, for writing this down. Now, last time we mentioned that Jeff Grubb of Giant Bomb had been talking about, the leaks and that this was a real thing happening, this Final Fantasy IX remake. He backed the claim about, Final Fantasy IX remake being a thing, but in a tweet, he clarified something that saying, quote, "I haven't talked about Final Fantasy IX in weeks, but these rumors keep bouncing back and forth between blogs and Twitter and YouTube as if I've said something new or different. I just said it's definitely real, which of course it is." Now, this is in response to people thinking that there's going to be like some sort of ATB turn-based system. I remember we talked about that a little bit on the last episode. But he never said anything like that. It ended up becoming a giant game of telephone. So
it's tricky with rumors like this, tracing them back to the source, seeing which bits were actually added on by layer ones, because then you'll often have something where someone starts speculating about, oh, hey, since they did this on this other make, maybe they'll consider doing it here. Mm-hmm. And then that frequently gets turned into, oh yeah, it's been confirmed they're going to do that. Now, tracing back those rumors can be very difficult.
Would it be nice if it was? Absolutely. I would love to see a turn-based remake of Final Fantasy IX, but I just want to see the game in general, and based off of what they've done so far with their games with Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy 16, they're going to do a great job. And I'm just...
Here's hoping.
Want them to continue to do the work they need to do and bring us the game in its best form.
Mm-hmm.
So... let's not.
Yeah, especially given especially given that 9 was the later release that paid a lot of homage to the series' earlier roots. It's one that has a nostalgic appeal for a lot of people.
Yep, definitely. All right, let's jump into our next story. This one involves a little bit of the Microsoft and Activision Blizzard King merger. A judge.
That merger was finally approved to go through, I believe.
Yes, and the judge cited Final Fantasy 16 as a reason for denying FTC's requested injunction. This story comes from GameRanks.com and was written by Ryan Pereno. Thank you so much for your work on this. So quoted from their reasoning for denying the injunction, the judge stated, Sony has often paid third-party studios to skip Xbox, either entirely or to delay a title's release on Xbox. For example, on June 22nd, 2023, while this trial was happening, Square Enix released Final Fantasy XVI, the latest release in the iconic Final Fantasy franchise, exclusive to PlayStation 5. Previous versions of Final Fantasy shipped on Xbox, but the reason Final Fantasy XVI is a PlayStation exclusive is because Sony paid to exclude Xbox.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff in the case and the objections around the merger was PlayStation expressing that this would be something where the larger entity could use its market power to lock them out. And so pointing to things where PlayStation had been doing the same really did weaken their case a bit.
Indeed it did. And while, to be honest with you, the Final Fantasy games are not quite as big sellers as something like Call of Duty, this is something that has happened quite a bit. And actually, even on the flip side, I recall Xbox paying Square Enix to make the new Lara Croft games exclusive to Xbox.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just something that happens in the industry in general. But if you're going to complain about X, Y, or Z like that, you need to make sure that you're not doing the exact same thing as the people across the hall are. So
yeah. I can imagine hoping that you're going to roll the dice and end up with a judge who's not going to be as aware of the issues. I can understand why they take the chance.
But I mean, like I said, I think overall, having things available on multiple consoles is actually the best because it gives people's choice. You're not locked into a specific ecosystem if you don't want to be, or you're not required to purchase another one if you don't want. It's not like way back, when we were younger during the console wars, Nintendo, Sega, and Sony then a little later on, with releasing their consoles and bringing games. Like Nintendo has a lot of things that are exclusive only to Nintendo. Sega had a lot of things that were exclusive just to them, and you had to buy their console if you wanted to play that game. Like if you had a Nintendo and you wanted to play Sonic, back then you couldn't. You had to have a Sega. So console exclusivity has been a thing forever, but it is opening up a lot more because people are realizing that the consoles aren't what make you money. It's the software and the licensing.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the other thing, back then it just felt unthinkable that a particular company, they made games for this one. It the consoles and the console manufacturers kind of felt like the rulers of things, and now they really do feel a bit more secondary. People care a lot more about the games made by a particular company than whether it's a Nintendo game or a Genesis game back then, as it was.
Yep, that
the focus has really moved from the hardware to the software, which kind of makes sense here.
Yeah, I mean, and realistically, that was kind of the way it was back then too. But it's just the software was only available on this console. You couldn't get it on that console.
Right.
That's the only difference. And then when they started opening up these deals where people could have it on Xbox, on PlayStation, on PC, it changed. The whole landscape has changed. So, it's change is good. It's a lot of people don't like it because it messes with the status quo, but you know what? It is what it is, and life goes on. And
Something like that.
And if you don't keep up with it, you don't go on. So, anyway, and then
brutal.
We have another little bit of Final Fantasy 16 news. According to this one, also comes from Push Square and written by Liam Croft. Square Enix is happy with Final Fantasy 16 sales and considers them extremely strong. So a quote from Square Enix states, with 38 million PS5 consoles shipped globally as of March 31st, 2023, sales of Final Fantasy 16 surpassed 3 million units worldwide several days after its release on June 22nd, 2023. Taking into consideration the sales figures of the acclaimed Final Fantasy 7 Remake and the difference in size of the install base of the PlayStation 4 at the time of its release, we can see that the attach rate of Final Fantasy 16 is considerably high given the PS5 install base. So yeah, I mean, realistically, being it's a PS5 exclusive, you're looking at almost 10% attach rate.
So attach rate is actually a term I've heard before, but I'm not quite familiar with. For myself and for those listeners who don't know, can you briefly explain what the attach rate means or what it is?
Basically, what you mean with attach rate is when you are, in an ecosystem, like if you have a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox or a Switch, you each of those consoles, you sell so many of those, and then you have the games that you sell with it as well. The number of games that are sold per unit sold of the console is what's considered the attach rate. How many people are attaching their game to the console, because you have.
So if that rate is high, then it's sort of saying a lot of people may have bought the console to play that game.
That is possible, or because they, the more people that own a console, the more people could potentially buy this particular game.
Interesting.
So I mean, when a brand new console comes out, you may not have astronomical numbers of sales, but if say there are 1 million consoles sold and 500,000 people buy the game, that's a 50% attach rate. So that it's just a way to make the numbers look better.
All right.
Because it's based off of the size of the audience that you're looking at. So if that makes a little more sense.
Yeah, you'd want to compare that to just the number of people who potentially could be playing it, which is the number that owns the console. Okay.
Yes, I mean, if you look at the Switch, which has sold 130 million consoles. If you only sold 3 million of a game, that's not a very large attach rate.
But if you sell 3 million of a game for the PS5, which has significantly fewer consoles,
due to the less amount of time that it's been out, then yes, it's considered a much higher attach rate.
Interesting.
So
cool. Thank you.
It's a ratio of consoles or of games sold versus consoles available to play the game.
Got it. Okay. Cool.
I think that makes it the easiest way to explain that. So, but it's nice to hear that that's a pretty good rate, and hopefully it just keeps going up as more people buy the console and then see this amazing game with these huge, review numbers, 9.5s and 10s, almost across the board by most of the large game reviewers. So it's really cool to see.
The fact that Square Enix is saying that they're happy with the figures is a promising.
Exactly. It means that they're doing a good job and they're going to continue to work on these things. Oh, all right. So that's some of the gaming community news. Now we have a lot of things to talk about regarding FanFest. I did catch a little bit of the keynote yesterday. Yes, I was bad. I watched it while I was at work, but I was doing other things too, but I couldn't help myself.
From the reports I'm hearing, I feel like people who didn't watch it at work might be in the minority.
At least as far as Final Fantasy fans go, yes.
Yeah.
I will say everything looked really cool, even though it was very hot out there. Nick Nar got to watch it before work. That happens only when you work at night.
Good job, Nick Nar. Keep fighting the power.
All right. I'm going to copy a few links into chat. These are the sources that we used to kind of bring in information for us, because I couldn't remember everything.
Compiling the data, some of the bits that we missed.
Yep.
It's not quite. not quite as bad as actually being in the convention hall, where the excitement is at a fever pitch, but it also can be really hard to hear a lot of those details.
Yep.
The stream does help out a lot for that.
Right, so
but definitely there were some bits where the crowd was going wild there.
So thank you very much to Silicon Era, PC Games N, and MMORPG.com for your coverage of the keynote yesterday. Biggest thing announced was the trailer, which I will also link here. Thank you, Square Enix, for putting the trailer out on YouTube for us to watch. Dawntrail is patch 7.0.
Yeah, it's been obvious that we're going to be, like, they continue to be developing. So the fact that there was an expansion is not at all surprising, but the name Dawntrail, given that they've talked about the day-night cycle that they were following with the previous expansions, it does seem like they're kind of continuing that, going from the Shadowbringers to Endwalker, and now to this new Dawn again. So it seems like we're at the beginning of another day. Well, kind of exciting that they're keeping up that pattern.
Yep. And if you think about it, and this goes in line with the fact that Yoshida stated that the storyline ended with Endwalker. So this is a brand new story for our Warriors of Light.
Yep, it's a fresh new day.
Yes. And I did get a chance to watch that trailer. I know, Sarah, you watched it shortly before the show started.
Yep.
And it looks amazing. It really looks nice. The textures, because we're going to be talking about a lot of the textures and things like that coming up in a little bit, but it looks really cool. The fact that we see the Mamul Ja again, not just kind of infiltrated into the Limsa zones, but I believe this is their homeland.
Yes. So the Mameljaw that we've seen so far are essentially mercenaries who came over from the New World, which is why most of them have been ones who are like either resorting to banditry, or you see them in a couple other side things, but they're pretty much there kind of to work. Okay. We haven't really seen much of the broader Mameljaw culture at this point.
Yep. And it's kind of neat. Yoshida described the environment as the very best summer vacation a hero could possibly have.
I tell you, sweeping out over those waters, like those forests, like just all the different environments, it really felt like somewhere to take a tropical vacation. I am all like, with the way the weather's been already, I am already in that blazing hot summer frame of mind, and it went perfectly with it.
Yeah, I mean, like here in Minnesota, we have lake mode that, comes up, in the summertime. We all want to hang out in the lake. This is just kind of lake mode, expanded by 1,000 times to, ocean mode, I suppose.
Yep. I think everywhere gets some equivalent of that. Just when you start getting that vacation brain, when you're kind of done with stuff and thinking about all the fun things you could be doing.
I will say, though, the big thing that I noticed was Graha Tia eating a taco. I laughed so hard when I first saw that. I'm like, oh my God, they have tacos. I wonder if Rubicon and Yelta are just flipping out when they saw that.
That was definitely one that got a lot of response about the memeing, given that we had, for instance, the big fat tacos for the weapon theme from Shadowbringers.
And of course, Nick Nar brought it up, a big fat taco.
So big. We had also seen, for instance, one of the furnishing items in a previous patch, the New World Burrito Lunch. So we'd already gotten the suggestions that a lot of their culinary traditions are stuff that we would recognize from various Central American things, stuff like your burritos, your tacos, maybe your empanadas. You've got a lot to pick from there. Oh, I always love seeing what they've chosen for their food culture dabblings.
Now, one of our friends, Alshalant, is actually out in Vegas right now, and I think he might still be in the chat. So, for those watching this either live or even on the YouTube, what were your thoughts when you first saw this? If you want to kind of share your thoughts in the chat, then we'll read that out for you while we continue talking a little bit about Dawntrail.
Yeah, throw in what you want there. I'll be happy to read off stuff as it comes up. But yeah, so gorgeous trailer. again, completely different vibe after all of the big, dramatic, ever escalating things we've had.
Mhm.
It's kind of a return to a bit more of like a fun adventure type thing. As I said, like a summer vacation, going out exploring. It really does have a fun vibe to it, as opposed to a lot of the really heavy, dramatic, like the opening of Shadowbringers, where you have that fate, you have that samurai duel, you have the Warrior of Light limping along through the first with the or the Warrior of Darkness with the light gleaming overhead, with that big climactic fight against the Sin Eater. You don't have that really big, like, this is a thing with the stakes of the world. It really just felt more like okay, we're to like a nicer arc of this anime kind of thing. So really different vibe that they're setting from it from the start.
Oh yeah, he also meant he said in there, you know, the trailer theme, you know, the open seas, pirate treasure, things like that. But he mentioned Erinville, the gleaner from Charlene that we worked with in a lot of our quests in
and that
Endwalker.
like half the player base is horny for.
Yep. So it seems that Erinville is kind of joining up with us now potentially.
Yep, we've had some hints that Erinville has something going on in his homeland that he would be called back to deal with. That there was, and we've now gotten confirmation that he's going to be a central figure in all this.
And so the area we're going to, what we've been calling the New World, is called Tural or Yok Tural. It's a continent far to the west of Eorzea. And judging by the things that they said to explain it, it really, I suppose the closest thing real world that it would liken to would be like North and South America.
Yeah, it's especially got a bit of a Mesoamerican feel. So like a lot of that Southern North America as well as the Central America. You've got a lot of those, like the cultural things we talked about, for instance, the cuisine, but you also had a lot of the architecture that's reminiscent of that Central American stuff. A lot of those environments.
Well, fact also that the tribe that they showed us, the Pelu Pelu, make mezcal.
Mezcal, but also coffee and tea, and that coffee gives us a little bit of a South American vibe. As always, we've seen with a lot of them that they'll have a little bit of a pastiche of different cultures, but while it does seem to be largely that Central American and Mexican influence, it does look like we're drawing a bit from some of the other cultures in the area as well.
I mean, and this is just the start. We might, they talked about the devs will be expanding this area as well. So, I mean, it's very possible that we might see the Elpis equivalent of North America and Canada and...
Ooh, I would love to see Aether's take on Canada. That would be fascinating. Or maybe like we could go south to like
Brazil.
God, part of me really wants to do the "you're going to Brazil" memes. But also you have stuff like, say, the Andes, maybe a lot of like Chilean type stuff. Like there's a lot of cultures that you could draw from for the South American stuff as well.
Can we get Final Fantasy's take on poutine and hockey?
Oh,
and
you
curling.
wouldn't let me get cheese curds, and now you're doing this. Cruelty.
I told
Such
you to
cruelty.
order them so they're ready for you when the show's over.
Yeah. Stuff actually delivers reasonably quickly where I am, so I'm going to save that order for later.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
But yeah, we did get some details about some of the other areas, of course. Particular sections that they showed off included the city that will be the seat of the region's government, Tuliolai. I am almost certainly mispronouncing that. I'm looking forward to hearing a lot of these so we can start getting their proper pronunciations.
And then like the mountainous region, Urkopacha.
Yep.
And then Yaktel, which is like a rainforest, maybe equivalent to something along the lines of like the Amazon rainforest, maybe not quite as big, but...
Well, that's another one where if you're looking at like Yucatan Peninsula, you've got a lot of those like heavily forested, like dense rainforest type things that also have a lot of cenotes. Those are, if you've ever seen those gorgeous pictures of like the kind of like caves with the holes at the top and then those beautiful blue pools.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so you've got, again, again, really strongly drawing from a lot of those Central American themes. But we've got those mountains, we've got the forest with, again, those. Oh man, I am looking forward to going fishing in a cenote. That sounds beautiful.
And then, of course, with a new expansion, we're getting a lot of new things. The biggest things we're going to be getting is 2 new jobs. We're going to get a melee DPS class and a caster DPS class. So
the speculation that had been going around was for a ranged DPS and a caster, so half right on that front.
Yep. And then, of course, as Yoshida always does in his keynotes, he had a little teaser with his t-shirt. So he took off his overshirt, and below it was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles t-shirt. Now, where do we think he's going with that? We already have Ninja. So,
yeah.
Is Kojin going to be the class?
I did see someone really pulling for that means they're going to add Kojin as a race, and admitting that didn't actually make a lot of sense. It's just something that he wanted to happen. But some of the other ideas I've seen floating around is that it might be referring to the caster as a green mage, one that people have been talking about as a possibility for a bit, which in this case could be some kind of like nature-based mage, especially given the whole nature environment that they'd be setting up for this one.
Well, wasn't green mage considered time magic in past Final Fantasies?
I mean, it could be something like Sage, where they use the name from the previous thing, but then build a different vision around it. Yep. It's hard to say.
The other one,
another one that I saw that I
was gonna say, Alshalant in the chat mentioned the things going around there in Vegas, that the melee would be Corsair, because Turtle, Tortuga, Pirate.
Yep. That is another possibility, and there's been other stuff to suggest the idea of Corsair. What was the other? The other one that I'd seen that I am personally hoping for was using the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the connection to the Renaissance Masters, to have it be Pictomancer or something similar, like what Realm was in Final Fantasy VI.
That would be more of a stretch, I think, at least in the trying to squeeze something like that into a triad of classes like we have.
I mean, like you'd have that as a caster DPS.
I mean, well, I guess we did have some paintbrushes in the Deltascape.
That is also the other thing. Like, you need to consider what kind of tool or weapon they're going to use. And while we've seen that they're willing to play a bit fast and loose with it, having red mages use swords, but swords with the magical focus, or having creating entirely two new things like the new liths, it is still something where you need to consider a little bit what kind of unique weapon you're going to give them.
So if we have a Pictomancer, the job trainer is going to be Bob Ross.
Ooh, I would be deeply surprised if they didn't make some reference to him if they did do that. Maybe the achievement for leveling it would be happy little trees. I don't know.
No, the fact you got this job, it's a happy little accident.
But yeah, we are definitely very much we have gotten a tiny bit of information, a very oblique hint, and so everyone's spinning up their predictions.
Exactly. I mean, well, some of the other ones were much easier to guess, like the red mage, or the Scarlet Witch shirt indicating red mage.
People had been wanting and expecting red mage for a while at that point.
Exactly. So I mean, that one made sense. The Spider-Man shirt was a little bit more of what people had to guess with the Sam Raimi.
Yeah, that one being a
samurai.
That one being a hint for. Part of it is there's a lot of jobs that people wanted, and so it's much easier to see, okay, we want this to be the thing. Is this something that fits with that? For things where, is there a major job at this point that people like? Red Mage was one of the big last ones I remember where people really, really wanted that to be in there.
People want Beastmaster, they want Corsair, they want Geomancer.
Is there anything that like people want to that degree?
I would say the closest one is going to be Beastmaster. I've heard a lot of people clamoring for a Beastmaster job, but I think that would be more along the lines of
that'd be a limited job if we get it.
But I mean, turtles are animals. Beastmaster. I mean,
and this is how we end up with things like Face Northwest when you're synthing for skill ups lasting for over a decade.
I mean, you're not wrong, but I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But, no, I mean, I'm real excited for 7.0. You know, it's gonna be a summer 2024 release. Is what they're shooting for at this point. They want to try and get it as early as possible, but because we're still a year out, they can't make any promises yet at this point. So the only thing that I know is it's gonna be a long time that we're gonna have to run through patch 6.5. And we'll talk a little bit about that when we get to the live letter portion of this. Continuing on with the keynote information, we got note that we were told we were going to get increased to level 100. Not 99. So I kind of thought they might have done 99 just because of the whole, you know, Final Fantasy kind of, they usually stop at 99.
Yeah, I mean, 11 they stopped at 99, but then we do see the other one that we often compare it to, since they followed the model of WoW for so long, and WoW was happy to go to 100, 110, and 120.
Yep, I think aren't they at like 130 at this point? They're way up there too, so.
I'm not sure. I feel like they had a stat squish at some point.
Well, they had a stat squish, but I don't know if they had a level squish. I mean, we had a stat squish. So.
Yeah, I don't know.
But with that, we're going to get all the same new stuff, new dungeons, new raids, PvP, you know, all that good stuff, new ultimates.
Yep. A lot of the stuff that we've come to expect, we can expect it to be business as usual for that.
But we're also going to get lifestyle content, you know, something along the lines of the Island Sanctuary thing. Not exactly Island Sanctuary, but something like that. More real easygoing content.
Yeah, kind of. I know that this word is considered a dirty word by a lot of people, but kind of casual content. Stuff that you can...
Casual?
Yeah.
Casual? Just kidding.
The idea that it's not just all about going and fighting things and destroying whatever, but just like like building this character in their life. Like if you're gonna like create and develop and role play a character, all these different aspects.
Yep. Alshalon also brought up something that they mentioned regarding the Alliance raids that's going to make it very Final Fantasy-ish. So are we going to get something that's going to reference a past Final Fantasy again?
Like the Omega raids with all of their things like the Phantom Train and whatnot.
Yep. Or maybe is it going to like take one specific Final Fantasy, you know, down that path? So I mean, we'll have to see. That we'll find out a lot more in London and in Tokyo when those fan fests come live. So a lot of information, but right now we're left with a lot of time to speculate. So.
Oh yeah.
But let's continue on. This one really excited me when they talked about the graphical updates that they're going to make to the game. They want to improve the look and feel of the characters while still maintaining that Final Fantasy XIV aesthetic. And
they showed off quite a few of the upcoming changes.
God, the shading changes that they made are just phenomenal. Everybody's faces has a lot more contour and detail, but without looking like a completely different character. I will say though, in the trailer, granted they put a lot more CGI into that to make it look as good as possible. They made the Warrior of Light's face really kind of sea-worn. Did you notice that?
At first I was like, is this even the same person? It was impressive.
I did not see what job he was though. Did you?
I do feel like they're holding that back for the moment.
He was holding a sword.
We always have a thing where someone's going to be one of the representatives of the new jobs.
Yeah, he was holding a sword that, you know, while he was sparring with Galul Jaja.
Yep.
But beyond that, you know, it's not like, you know, in the past ones we knew. Well, I granted when Stormblood was announced, everybody thought that was Dancer, instead of monk.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, no, the Warrior of Light was definitely
another
monk,
example.
but it was Lisa's character that looked like a dancer, and I think that's what brought the whole dancer thing up for that one. But they didn't have that in this one. You know, Endwalker, they showed the paladin. In Shadowbringers, they showed him as a Dark Knight in the trailer. This one, they did not show anything like that. They're keeping it very close to the chest.
And we've also had the thing where we get the initial trailer and they do release stuff more extended with more details. Like the bit that we see the Ed Walker movie that we see now started off as a trailer where there was a shorter bit of it, but then more details get added over time.
Yeah, there's going to be an extended trailer that comes out probably in time for the London FanFest in October.
Yep, where we'll get more people saying things, making cryptic comments.
Yep, and there was a lot of other interesting things that came about. The additional die channel being added to a number of gear pieces is a huge piece. I mean, it is like watching in Discords how people reacted. A lot of the other stuff, like, okay, there was like Urianger is drinking margaritas, but the bit where people started really going berserk was we're going to be able to dye our gear in 2 colors and have 2 different dye channels. That I am kind of amused at how hard people started going for that. No, I mean, it is something that people have been clamoring for quite a while, you know, because the current dyeing system, while it's not perfect, it needs improvement.
It could be more robust. And it's also like, given how much people play the glamour game, it makes one thing I was happy to find out is that this is going to be for all gear going forward, and they are going to bring older gear into that as well.
Yep,
that's going to be an
because there are
it'll be an overtime thing, but
Yep, there are thousands of pieces of gear that would have to be updated for that.
Oh, 100%. Like, this was my best case scenario, that it's okay, they're going to get it over time. I could not imagine that they do all of them in one go. That's the sheer amount of work required.
What I got out of this is it's probably going to take the entirety of 7.x to complete not only all of the graphical updates for the zones, NPCs, and the like, but also then to add the second die channel into all of the gear pieces from ARR forward. So
I did see something about, like, they were mentioning their apologies that Adeleji would probably be one of the first NPCs in the first batch of NPCs that would be looking better. They did apologize for that.
I was gonna as they were showing the different races, in my mind, when they got to the Lalafels, I know I'm gonna go to hell for this, but I was hoping they would show a picture of Potato.
I mean, probably not the time for the meme.
In my mind, I was thinking that, though. Come on.
I get it. I'm glad they didn't. Probably not the best time for the meme, but I get it.
They wouldn't have at all, but I just thought it was funny.
Yep. Some of those other cosmetic changes, the one that I'm personally most excited about, they again seem to be very attuned to what the players want, in that they are going to be adding a new equipment slot, specifically a glamour slot that will not take armory chest space, in which people can put glasses and other sorts of eyewear. So you'll pretty much be able to mix any piece of headgear with glasses now.
And I've been waiting for that for a while. I mean, we had those glamour pieces, you know, like the
fashion accessories.
Yes, the fashion accessories that you could glamour onto something, but as soon as you zoned out or changed your gear, it was gone.
Yeah. And I think there were areas where you weren't able to use it as well. That's sort of like some of the dungeon content and the like. I mean, for myself, I'm a pretty vanilla person, but everyone is hotter in glasses. Everyone.
Oh, well, thank you. I said, oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, no, you look significantly more attractive wearing the glasses.
And then they also said that we're getting more housing furnishings. They didn't say by how much they're increasing the limit, but I hope that also includes external housing spots as well. So yeah, I mean, they really are listening to people, because we want to not only play this game to play the game, but we also want to have these little fun bits, the casual content.
The phrase "glamour is the true end game" entered the player vocabulary pretty early on, and it's never really left.
It was in 2.x. I mean, we've been memeing that since we started the podcast. So.
I mean, it's barely even a meme. It's just kind of a truism. On a certain level, you get to like make and dress up your little doll and have them run through adventures, and people are very invested in having their doll look the way they want.
Yeah, they are. But I mean, the game and the devs are doing a great job in allowing us to do these things. So I mean,
yeah, it absolutely hits all the right parts of my power fantasy. I am very happy with it.
Continuing on with some of the things they announced, because of the graphical updates, they are going to increase the minimum level requirements for your PC as well. Just if you bought your PC in the last 5 years, you're fine.
Yeah, if you were at the low end of the requirements, you probably want to check the details, and we do have a good amount of time to get that sorted. They did also confirm that PS4 will still be supported.
Yep, so we don't have to worry about losing that yet. And it's smart because the install base of the PS4s is huge, and they have a pretty good attach rate on the PS4.
Yep.
So, and this free trial is expanding to level 70 in Stormblood. But that's nice. So for
I was thinking about that. Like we've talked before about the issue where as they have more and more content, it becomes hard to be like, okay, here's all the stuff you need to go through. And having the free trial continue to expand to be like 2 or 3 expansions behind, it kind of makes it so, hey, here's a thing you don't have to pay for and you can go through at your own pace. And then there's this set amount of content that will be okay, once you're ready to start paying. And the fact that you don't have to start paying until you get to that, like instead of being like, okay, I've started paying for a subscription, now I have to run through all this stuff as fast as possible for it to be worth it. It is, I don't know if it's what they intended, but it seems like an interesting way to help manage the problem of people feeling like there's too much to go through. If the earlier stuff they can go through a bit more at their own pace since they're not having to pay for it.
Yep. Plus the fact then, it just allows a lot more people to experience more of the game. And when they're ready, they can jump in if they want.
Yeah, I am especially happy for this one because I feel like Stormblood was where they really started adopting a lot more of their modern ideas of how the combat should work. And so, like, if you didn't getting to play the Stormblood will give you a bit more of an idea of how the combat actually plays in the modern game.
All right, and this last piece was probably the craziest bit of information that we were given in the keynote. Final Fantasy XIV is finally coming to Xbox.
Very timely given the merger we were discussing earlier. Right. And Phil Spencer was actually on hand. He was there and talking with Yoshida and new Square Enix CEO Takashi Kiryu. They discussed, how they have been discussing wanting to get 14 on the Xbox, but and we've talked about this many, many times in the past. The biggest thing that was holding it off of Xbox was the requirement of being able to keep the everything on the Square Enix servers. And like I believe under the previous ones they had said that they wouldn't be able to support crossplay, and that was pretty much a non-starter for Square.
Yep. And I mean, if you look at when 11 came to Xbox, it was basically an entirely different game. It had different assets. It had different servers. So if you were on Xbox in Final Fantasy 11, you could not play with your friends on PC and PS2.
Yep. I did, of course, see plenty of people again memeing about this, much like a lot of concern about we're going to have this flood of Xbox players. What does that mean for the game?
It means good things. It means more people.
Yes, I absolutely agree with that. We've been through this enough times. It's fine now. Stop it.
I mean, it's not like every person who plays Xbox is like a Call of Duty bro who only wants to, they're not all sweaty tryhards,
That's way less of a thing now.
Exactly. People are more, it doesn't matter if you're playing on Xbox, PC, PS4, whatever. We're all gamers now. we're all in this giant, gaming community together. Doesn't
I mean,
matter
telling
what
people-
color of your console. It's just, let's all just game together and have fun.
Something like that.
That's my take on it, really. So I know there's still a few people who meme on it, but I personally think it means nothing but more people playing the game and having fun with it.
Yeah, it's something where we've again also talked about like how a game like this does need new players. It needs that lifeblood to keep it going.
Mhm.
So this is something that will introduce a lot of people. And given how friendly the community has been to new players, I'm not expecting this to be nearly as bad as like a lot of the other doomsday scenarios that people have come up with.
Yep.
I'm kind of looking to it.
Exactly. There were a couple other things that were mentioned within the keynote, but we moved them down to the live letter because they're actually coming before before the expansion. So if you were expecting to hear about that, we're just going to talk about it here in just a second. So a few hours ago today, Yoshida had live letter 78 to talk about the current state of Final Fantasy and patch 6.5. I want to thank the subreddit for their coverage of the live letter and all of the slides. I'm going to go ahead and post this in the chat. So if you wanted to see where we pulled our information from, you can have it there. All Shalant, you lucky bastard, you got to see it live. So patch 6.5 called Growing Light is releasing early October 2023. So for those of you going to FanFest in London, you've got a little bit of time to play it before FanFest starts.
Nice.
They also announced the rest of the roadmap for this. Patch 6.1 or 6.51 will be late October, so after FanFest. And then patch 6.55, the last update for the patch 6.x series, will be mid-January of 2024.
This does mean a significantly larger time gap between the final patch release and the new expansion. It's understandable given that they're also going to be having the Xbox launch, and I'm sure they don't want to try to do that at the same time as a expansion launch.
Yep.
I think, God forbid you have another all name days coming at once.
Yeah,
but it does mean a bit more of a wait for us.
I think at this point, what they're aiming to do with this larger lull in time is they're going to utilize that. They're going to completely have the 6.x series released and then ready to load onto Xboxes out there with the beta starting in early spring. So by that time, we should have, everything should be completed. All of the quality of life adjustments should be made. Maybe there might be a couple of minor tweaks between the beta test and the final, the complete end of the 6.x series, when we go into 7.0. But with that, it's a great time to do it. It's going to be a little bit of a lull for us, but good news, there's going to be another Final Fantasy game coming out around that January timeframe, most likely, that we can all play in. So anyway, the main scenario they announced will be split in two parts. The first bit coming in 6.5 and then the second part in 6.55. So in that January 2024 timeframe, we're going to have the final bit of storyline for the 6.x.
I feel like they did this with the previous expansions as well, given that there is going to be a bit more of a gap.
Yeah.
They want to space out the MSQ so that we don't have almost a literal, like, most of a year between the last major plot beat. They at least want to try to keep it a little fresher if they can.
I will say I am very happy that they went back to a summer release for the expansion.
Yeah,
I mean, I understand Endwalker had to release in November, December because of the way the development cycle worked with COVID, interfering with a lot of it. It pushed everything back. It's the way of the world. But they're working really hard to try and get back into the same time frame as they had in the past. So we're looking probably then. Every couple of years we'll get another expansion and move forward like that. So that's nice to see.
And given the whole summertime feel, having it released in summer is kind of nice.
So they gave us a list of a lot of the different stuff we're going to be getting within the 6.5x time frame. The Tribal Alliance quest is coming back. So you have to complete Arcosodra, Omicron, and Loporrit quests. That's coming in 6.55.
I'm a little bit surprised to see those back. We had them; they were a huge deal back in ARR, and then they continued to add them for each of them. But they had abandoned the entire thing for Shadowbringers.
Well,
I wonder. At least part of it was there had been a set of recurring characters and issues they developed that were showing up in those allied quests.
Yeah, the Mikote in the leopard print thong wasn't able to come over to the first.
I mean, the bigger thing about him was the mask over half his face, but sure, the leopard print thong.
I mean, am I wrong?
That is absolutely the bit that everyone noticed. You're not wrong.
But yeah, the guy with the sable eye patch, he wasn't over there. Also, because all of the tribe quests were on the first during Shadowbringers, maybe that was part of the reason with it, and because we couldn't bring some of those other characters over, that might be a large part of it.
And also, arguably, depending on what they try to do with it, the fact that a lot of these were trying to reestablish themselves, it's possible that they could. It does feel like maybe it had a different vibe for a world that has been on the brink and is bringing itself back. So maybe it just didn't work with, or maybe it was replaced by something else. I don't know. Either way, I had thought they wouldn't be doing that anymore. So I am very pleasantly surprised to see that they're back.
I really enjoyed those Alliance quests.
100%.
Other things coming in 6.55 include Tadru's Grand Endeavor. We're going to get an expansion on that quest line. We're going to get more Hildebrand with somehow further Hildebrand and further Manderville weapons, both in 6.55. In 6.51, Seyrr, we're getting the Splendorous tools.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that the Splendorous tools are coming earlier. They tend to have that on the same time frame as the Manderville weapons, and they even have integrated some of the things with some of the characters making references to the stuff across them as weird events that kind of ripple across worlds.
Well, I mean, it's going to give you a chance to get all of your crafters into the top end Splendorous weapon before 7.0 drops.
It's true.
So I mean, giving you more time with that, because the crafting ones have a lot more work involved with them.
It is true.
I mean, you have to gather the items, you have to then craft everything up, and there's just so many steps involved with that. I mean, that's part of the reason why I haven't kept up with them.
I feel like it's not that bad, but I also feel like my barometer for these things is deeply broken.
You are more able to handle those real repetitive, grindy things like that with a lot more ease than some people are.
Fair.
I mean, it's just your personality, Seyrr. But I mean, nothing against you. It's
I get it. I have that level of obsessive focus. I am well aware.
So I mean, that's why it's probably not as bad for you as it is for someone like me, who ends up getting bored of stuff after about 20 minutes. Ooh, a squirrel.
Huh.
Anyway,
so we did of course get information about the new dungeon and trial that we always get. This time around, it will be the lunar subterrane for our dungeon and the abyssal fracture for our trial. Given again the Final Fantasy IV tie-in we've had through the plot, having the lunar subterrane and abyssal fracture as the culminating things of the Final Fantasy IV style story is no surprise.
Yep. 6.5 is also going to bring about the change of the Unreal Trial. We are going to get the Singularity Reactor now. So for all of you guys who are bashing your heads against Thoradin back in Heavensward, you're going to have some PTSD. I remember a lot of groups broke up on that too. Thoradin was tough.
I just loved that moment where in the regular one where realize, they're doing the Knights of the Round summon. That's what's happening here.
And then you all died because you were watching it.
Hey, I can watch mechanics and fight at the same time and usually carry on a conversation. I know what I'm doing. Also, I had Spender there, and he's one of the best healers I've ever worked with, and he generally can keep people off if they're not being too bad about things.
Yeah, and, I mean, it wasn't as bad if we were able to get good people who could call out things very well.
Yeah.
So, but There were a lot of times there was so much going on that people would lose focus very easily with the mechanics.
There is a lot going on that battlefield, just like the sheer visual overload is in and of itself a hazard.
Yep.
So good luck to people who will be taking on that challenge.
Yep. I mean, and it's going to be a lot of people doing it.
Yeah.
Just not me. The Mists of the Realm Part 3, that's gonna be reaching its completion. We're going to Thalia.
Thalia, I believe, yeah.
Okay.
The various areas are named after the three graces from Greek mythology, given the number of other Greek mythology tie-ins we have, or Thalia would have been the original one. Though they do tend to use slightly weird romanizations of these things. Keep in mind, again, a lot of these were named in Greek, and so there's different ways that one might choose to Romanize the spellings.
Okay. And then they're basically going to be completing the duty support for all of the dungeons. The last three Stormblood MSQ dungeons, Scalia, The Burn, and Gimlet Dark, will have duty support added to them in the 6.5 patch. So now everything MSQ from ARR through Endwalker, you'll be able to do with a party of NPCs. And that's
vaguely
pretty
curious.
Cool.
So I really loved Drowned City of Scala. I love the armor from it. I remember the framing device in the story was that we were having kind of a treasure race with Arenvald. I wonder if they'll be changing it to make Arenvald one of the people in our party for that. They haven't had to make some slight tweaks to allow the duty support stuff to work there. So
a lot of it's going to depend on what your party makeup requires. I mean, if you are a tank, you're not going to need him.
I mean, sure, but I wonder if they're going to keep the plot element of Arenvald is taking his own thing and we're having a race to it, or if they'll change it up in order to have him integrated into the group party.
Yep, that's fair. Additional things we're getting a third variant / criterion dungeon.
That came up a lot faster than I was expecting.
Yep, Alo Island.
And that one's going to be featuring everyone's favorite elephant boy, Matsuya. We helped him sell fish. We helped him escape through the jungle carrying a baby. Now we're going to go island hopping with him.
There's not going to be any...
surprise breakout characters.
Yeah, I mean, you find them every once in a while. You know, people that the player base will really glomp on to a particular NPC. It's just kind of nice to see who they've chosen at this point.
Way back when, they added the post-Moogle quests as a way for people to get additional stories and explore a bit more about some of these NPCs that we really liked. Mm-hmm. And while they did eventually complete that line, it does seem like they've continued to the whole, hey, the player base really likes this person, let's take a little bit of a chance to explore their story. In this, I was surprised with Mount Rockon that it's they made Hancock a lot more interesting and likable. He's still a pain in the ass in some ways, but I get him more. He's less terrible. So it's really nice to get these things that really flesh out these characters. Yeah.
There will be some minor tweaks in PvP. The biggest ones are going to be minimap and UI adjustments within Crystalline Conflict, as well as a new arena, the Red Sands. Yoshida thinks that the way things are playing right now within Crystalline Conflict is pretty even across the board, so they're not going to be making any major job adjustments, which is kind of nice to see that PvP is in a good place.
Yeah, they've got about where they want it. I'm sure that once Dawntrail comes out, what with the actually wait, I feel like they usually at least want to add a new ability or something if the job has gotten a bunch of new iconic abilities. They added the whole rage thing with the... God, what's it called? The long line of thorns and roses? You know the one I'm talking about. I feel like they'll want to at least add some of those new capstone abilities or change them up somehow. But for now, it does seem like they've got it where they want it.
Just wanted to wish Alshalant a good time at the Primals concert that's going to be starting soon. So thanks for joining us for the time you could. I'm sure you'll catch the rest of this after when it's live as a podcast. So thanks for your input, Alshalant. Enjoy the rest of FanFest, and we'll talk with you later. Continuing on with things that they talked about in the live letter, Island Sanctuary updates. New ranks, new visions, new gathering areas, new lots of stuff. So it just they're adding another chunk on.
Yep. We did get the cave system, which has some areas that look like it's going to words. It definitely looked like there was space to fit a bit more in there. So I'm happy to see that they're going to continue to develop on that. I really do wonder what more they could keep doing with that. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I thought, I really haven't jumped in much farther since they expanded from the original version, but I thought that was pretty good.
They're gonna have to do some large scale renovations, just because it feels like some areas are really starting to run out of space. Like they set up for stuff on that it's kind of Regis Castle, but maybe we are going to start getting large scale renovations. Maybe we'll get extra little chunks of actual separate islands. I don't know.
Who knows? We'll have to see what they have planned for us.
I am definitely looking forward to when they release more details on that.
The big change that's going to be coming with this new update is something called Felicitous Favors. Once you've completed all of the Sanctuary progression, including the new stuff from 6.5, you will have individualized requests from the Felicitous Furball, you're requesting specific handicraft productions. And if you ship those, you're going to get special tokens, which can be traded for exclusive rewards. So,
as it is right now, there are in fact a couple discords devoted to providing information about what the ideal crafts to prepare and ship for are, since that market data is the same for all players, so it can make recommendations on that. So the fact that they're adding individualized ones now, I do wonder if that's something where they want to get away from. Like, it takes it a little bit out of the field to have oh yeah, this is a thing and everyone just do this one, and this Discord will spit out a thing of what everyone needs to be doing. And I kind of wonder if they wanted to get it back a little more to that, hey, this is your island sanctuary feel.
We'll have to see. This bit that they talked about in the keynote first, but expanded upon in the live letter, really got me excited. You guys remember the game Fall Guys?
We did spend a bit of time streaming that from time to time way back when, didn't we?
We played it during Extra Life a couple of times. It's just a fun little game. You run through these different obstacle courses and you try and get through the game show and win the crown. Well, there is a Final Fantasy 14 and Fall Guys crossover starting in August 22nd. In Fall Guys, you're going to be able to get a number of skins and emotes for your little dude that are Final Fantasy 14 themed. Like you got Alice and Alphino, you've got Estinian or a Dragoon. You have a number.
The moment I saw the Namazu, I was like, sold.
Yeah, Namazu. You've got Gubu and just a white mage. That's going to be running for about 6 weeks up until October 3rd. Basically, very close to the release of patch 6.5. But there's also going to be a Fall Guys themed game being added to the Gold Saucer in patch 6.5.
At first, I was really surprised, and I was like, no, actually, the Fall Guys, the vibe of that, and the Gold Saucers vibe, those intersect absurdly well.
It's very similar to like that jumping game in the saucer.
Yeah, and just like also like just a lot of the, hey, we've got these kind of Madcap Carnival games, like the I didn't think about it enough to have the words for it, but it really does have that kind of lighthearted, whimsical, goofy feel to it that really fits the saucer better than any other part of Eorzea. So like, the more I thought, I was like, no, this kind of works. I mean, I'm okay with this.
The color palette's a little bit bright for what Eorzea would have, even at the Gold Saucer. But I mean, it's the Fall Guys theme. I understand why they're doing it that way, and it looks like it could be a lot of fun. And I'm actually hoping to get back into Fall Guys a little bit, maybe during that August time frame, if I finish up with 6.4 by then.
Yeah, I kind of want to get back to it.
It's a fun little game, and everything. It's all cross play, so if it doesn't matter if you have it on PC or PlayStation, Switch, wherever, you can, I believe you can, your progression, if you're signed into the same account, will all follow.
Yeah.
Which is really nice.
It's again a little weird and surprising. Just the hey, like I would have never expected a crossover with a property like this. So again, as with previous ones, kind of speaking to just how mainstream and wide-ranging the Final Fantasy series is.
I guess what I'm concerned about is why haven't they announced the Final Fantasy 16 crossover? I mean, has Yoshida not been able to talk with the 16 developer yet? You know, the producer.
I mean, he's very busy.
I mean, they're both very busy, but you would think that they could make time for one another.
You know how hard it can be to find time for yourself.
Yeah.
Let alone someone else.
Let alone somebody else that is yourself. Yes, we're being that silly.
When are we not that silly?
They're adding a new custom deliveries client, Margaret, in Charlene, it looks like. Optional items are going to be able to be stored within the armoire in 6.5. That's pretty cool.
Interesting. Did they specify a bit more what they meant by that?
No, I did. I just read through the I'm not gonna lie, I just went through the slides, so I didn't have a chance to actually watch the live letter. So
I'll also note really quickly for those who aren't remembering who Margaret is, that's a custom deliveries client. If you remember in the main scenario, when you go to the Charlene Hamlet and you're helping out all the stressed out researchers, and they're the one who's kind of going insane and doing the y'all dance and talking about how much just the pressure is destroying her. And then later you revisit and she's now doing the y'all dance and celebrating the freedom from work. I guess she's also becoming a breakout hit or something, because she's going to be maybe we're going to be bringing her like sleep aids. I don't know.
We're going to drug her so she stops doing the Yule dance.
Maybe she just needs our help to de-stress from her difficult Charlene researcher life. I don't know, man. That was like, I saw that and I was like, huh, really? I think they want to draw the custom deliveries clients from the new regions, explore once again explore some of the stories of people that we got to see and that maybe we're like, oh hey, they're fun, or oh hey, they're interesting, we want to know a bit more about them. But wasn't expecting. Now that I've heard it, absolutely makes sense. Wasn't expecting.
Last few pieces that they talked about in the live letter, at least that I was able to see from the slides. They're making changes to item level restrictions for Duty Roulette Alliance Raid. It's going to be based on your level. So make sure that they want to make sure that people's gear is up to snuff depending on what
I'm pretty
sure going into.
I am pretty sure this is to address the you never get anything except Lota or Circus Tower thing.
I suppose that kind of helps to make sense. Also, the fact that they're making sure that if your level is a certain point, you're not dropping all of your gear, so you don't get certain ones.
Yes, exactly that. That people would set their gear so that they would. So pretty much you don't have things where people are manipulating which ones they can do.
Yep.
Since that has the combined of people complain about how often they get Lota or Circus Tower, along with whenever it was one of the other ones, no one knows the mechanics because no one ever ends up doing it. It does sound like they want to finally start doing something about that issue.
Yep. They are giving an option to sort teleport destinations based on the expansion which they were released. That's going to be kind of
honestly
nice.
That'll be helpful. I know they're all in Kurthus, but having Kurthus West and Kurthus Central in the same, they're completely different level ranges, and they're kind of indifferent because they're from different expansions. So I appreciate the regional sorting for some of them, but then it's also,
it's something that you have to opt into, but it is something that they're going to be adding to the 6.5 list there for all your teleportation locations.
It's also helpful for stuff like, for instance, when you're doing maps where all of the locations are going to be if you're doing a bunch of maps all with the group, they're all going to be in the regions from a particular expansion for that type of map.
Yeah, because if you're doing the highest level maps, they're always going to be on the Endwalker expansion. So you're not going to want to have to sort up and down, back and forth, through that. So you're going to have all of the zones listed for Endwalker here, all the zones for Shadowbringers, Stormblood, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah. I do like having the stuff regionally grouped just to think about which ones are near each other or share those commonalities. But for certain types of activities, it's a lot easier to keep track of where you're going if you group them together like that. Also, stuff like Time Known Gathering, where I'm moving between stuff that's in Endwalker.
Yep, and it's something that you can change. So you can toggle it on for certain things and toggle it off for others.
It is weird how something that it's like, it sounds so simple, and the more I think about it, it's like, no, that'll actually be useful for a lot of random little things. It's weird how stuff like that works.
And Yoshida, then the last slide that I saw was Yoshida was showing off the new mount for those who got all of the mounts from the trials within Endwalker.
All of those Lynxes.
Lynx Eye?
I don't actually.
I think it's actually Lynxes. Or maybe it's Lynx. Like
Lynxes. Either Lynx or Lynxes is considered an acceptable plural.
Okay, so if you get all the Lynx, you get a dragon. It's
weird.
Kind of neat. It's a neat looking dragon, and he carries a chair you sit in.
Okay, that is a fun touch. I feel like for a lot of the other ones, like, okay, like you gather all of the horses and you get a very special horse. You gather, yeah.
You get all the birds. You get a firebird.
Yeah, so you're gathering all the Lynx and you get another dragon feels a little weird.
Yeah, because you got all the dragonettes and you got a dragon. You got all of the tigers. You got what?
I believe you got a QB.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It was the QB. So similar but different.
Yeah, it was at least similar enough.
Yeah, a little bit closer.
I mean, it's a little weird. It's a little weird, but it's like not as much of a difference. So like this one feels more jarring.
A little bit, but if it's what they like, cool. Well, eventually I'll get to it.
I mean, they're gonna make it cool and interesting, so it's fine. There's part of me that just likes the idea of like you've collected all the horses and now you have the ultimate horse.
Yeah, that's all the information that we were able to pull up in short notice. I mean, there's a lot of things that were going on at FanFest this weekend. There were a lot of other panels. Maybe in the future we'll drop some lore nuggets in a upcoming podcast. Maybe we'll do an article on the website discussing some of the things that were learned from that. So that actually might be a good idea for some new articles. If you wanted to kind of go through some of the lore panels, or we could go through some of the other things that were discussed and maybe write something down and what our thoughts are on it. So there's always possibilities of content that we can create from what happened in Vegas this weekend. So what happens in Vegas doesn't always stay in Vegas. Sometimes we get some fun information out of it.
I mean, I got some absolutely hilarious stories from my FC leader.
I guess I really do wish I could have been there. It looked like it was a great time. Right now the Primals concert is gearing up. So, I mean, that was so much fun back in 2016, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And even the piano concert would have been an amazing time. I know lots of
people were already talking about bringing on like the glow sticks and other things like that. Mm-hmm. We know how to do it now. We are ready.
But, I am glad that they were able to get another in-person FanFest going because, like I said, the last one was 2018. So,
yep.
The fact that
it does sound like there have been some technical issues with this one, which are a little disappointing. I do wonder if maybe like the fact that they had several years separating them means that they lost. When you run these kinds of events repeatedly, you start to build up relationships with local vendors, with various service providers. I wonder if the disruption meant that like they lost relationships or that some of those providers went out of business, in part because from what I've been hearing, it sounds like they'd been running into some issues that they had quite frankly solved before. Like the merchandise line went backwards in terms of how well they were handling it. A bit surprising to me.
Again, now I could be completely wrong with this, but if I understand it correctly, there was an opportunity for people to order the merchandise they wanted ahead of time and have it shipped to their homes. So, I mean, that would include people who did not get tickets would potentially be able to buy the merch they wanted that was FanFest exclusive, so they could experience some of that too without actually having to be at the venue. For those who did not get the opportunity to do that, Square Enix brought a limited number of different plushies, t-shirts in different sizes, things like that for people to purchase on site if people change their mind. But the thing with it is they did not bring enough for everybody, because logistics.
And I mean,
don't allow that.
Like that would be one thing, but a lot of the claims I had heard, which again I do want to go back and try to follow up on and corroborate, include stuff like apparently scalpers who are not part of the event being given access to purchase large swaths of product.
Yeah, I kind of like heard things like that too, and that's something that should not be allowed because people are supposed to have your badge or your wristband or whatever it is that indicates that. You were,
and again, this was something that had been handled better in previous years, so it's surprising to me that this has become an issue again.
I did think that it was cool that they utilized a mobile phone app for the quests at the event. And
nice.
It was actually I saw some screenshots of people. It had a system in there that required it had to detect that you were in the Las Vegas Convention Center to be able to even utilize the app. And there are people who are having issues with it because they were actually there, but it still showed that they were not there.
Oh, the geolocation
was having some issues, or something weird with like the Wi-Fi signal not sending the proper authentication code to the app or something like that. But
having it as a phone app is a thing that makes sense given how it had a lot of stuff. But if this was the first time they're doing something like that.
Yep, this is a new thing for them. So I mean, there's some bugs to work out.
And it's a thing where you've got like, I want to say it was like 15,000 attendees. Like it's like 3 times bigger than the last one. You have that. I remember going to a convention where, just like when I had my Nintendo DS and you have the Street Pass thing on, where it would drain the battery so fast just from the amount of interactions just having with nearby stuff.
Yep.
I can't imagine how clogged the interference gets with like 15,000 people.
With that many cell phones draining on the resources of either the cell network or the Wi-Fi network, yeah, it's going to be an absolute shit show.
And pinging and detecting each other.
Yep, even most of the high-end hardware that can handle hundreds and thousands of clients, it still bogs down when you get into numbers in the tens of thousands. I mean, the infrastructure required for that is you don't even want to know.
I do hope that they'll continue to learn lessons from the stuff and improve it for future ones.
Yep.
As I said, it is a little disappointing to see what feels like backsliding in terms of problems they'd already solved. But
I mean, and like I said, 5 years out of the whole thing is going to impact everything a little bit. So it may just take a little time. Maybe FanFest 2025 will be a little bit smoother.
Here's hoping.
And I hope to see all of you there.
I hope they try to bring it back to San Diego. I don't know why they went back to Vegas after all.
Because Yoshida likes to gamble. I'm sorry. Do
it on your own time, man.
Well, he doesn't get to the U.S. very often. Give the man a break. This is his vacation.
He should come to the U.S. more often.
This is his vacation. He works. Anyway.
Why are you taking a working vacation, you dumbass?
Because that's what they do. I know I don't like to work when I'm on vacation, but that's just me. And
work is work. Vacation is vacation. Keep them separate.
Yeah. Well, who knows? Maybe it's.
I will have opinions loudly into the microphone.
Yeah, I know, and it would be nice to see it in a different location other than Vegas. We'll have to see what they come up with. But again, it's a lot of it's just going to depend on what venues are available. That's the biggest thing about it. Because
pretty much,
I mean, realistically, this time of year, is San Diego's Comic-Con. Because Comic-Con was like a week before FanFest, the week before FanFest.
Yeah.
So, I mean, can you imagine just how much of a cluster it would be to be the next big event going into the San Diego Convention Center?
Oh.
I don't know. I cannot see the scope on something like that. But anyway, it is what it is. One thing in the chat, the Sorting Helmet mentioned they have a hope for female Hrothgars. That's one thing they did not talk about in the keynote was any type of new races. I know they mentioned, I think, in a previous FanFest that the Hrothgar and Viera were going to be the last new playable races. Is that correct? Or am I misremembering?
That is what they had claimed before.
They did not say that they would not give us the other half of them, the female Hrothgar and the male Viera. I mean, we already have Arendelle.
We did get the male Viera, so
and I think there is a female Hrothgar in the game as well. Is there not? Or am I? Well, the queen in Bozja was a female Hrothgar, right?
At various points. There was also ones where it was like, because it was like Bozja had a mixture of Hrothgar and Rogadin going on.
But I guess they probably have not. They don't have. There's not been an NPC yet.
They added. There was a thing in the clips of the Encyclopedia Eorzea 3 that they released some of the screenshots of. Some stuff that was explaining more details about the Hrothgar that opened the possibility for having female.
I think Yoshida did claim at some point that they were planning on releasing them whenever it made sense.
Which I think is more a question of when they have the resources to do the development more than anything else.
They need the development bandwidth in order to be able to do that. I hope it doesn't end up being like a the thing where they reprogrammed a few of the assets to be able to work on the Hrothgar or the Viera, like the helmets and things. But it is what it is. For everybody who is out in Vegas right now, I hope you guys have an amazing time at the Primals concert. For everybody else, this has been our coverage of it, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was kind of nice to think about the future of Final Fantasy. I wish I could be with everybody, celebrating it, but we get to do it in our own way.
Yeah, it was for myself. Like at first, I had been okay with it because like I didn't know very many people were like most of the people I knew weren't going, and since then I've like made more friends and met more people, and then it turns out that some of those people are going. So a little more melancholic about it, but
yeah, I mean,
still looking forward to the next ones.
Looking at a lot of the things in on Discords, on Twitter, in Facebook, and the different FanFest groups that I'm a part of, it really makes me miss it. I got a little bit of a hurt right here, from seeing the things. I'm happy for all of them enjoying it. I really am. I'm just a little bit saddened that my number did not get pulled on the lottery for that. But like I said, it is what it is. I have had a lot of other fun things that I've been able to do.
Yeah, I wonder if because I also know in a lot of the groups I see, there's a lot of talk about various after parties and other fan events. And at some points, it seemed like there was more going on with the player-driven stuff than with the actual official things. And I wonder if that's kind of the model we want to move towards going forward. Just to look for opportunities to do stuff with other players instead of waiting for SE to set up something.
And I mean, groups like what is it? KupoCon. They do the fan run things, and they've been able to kind of work a little bit with Square Enix to kind of get the permission to do things, and they brought in like voice actors or people like that are close to Square Enix and Final Fantasy in that aspect. There would definitely be the ability for people to create their own fan things. I know there were some pre-parties and probably some after parties scheduled in Vegas during this time frame as well. A lot of fan meetups for that.
Yeah, no, those are the ones I'm thinking of.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, even beyond just during the official FanFest, between then and the next one, we could do things on our own if we wanted to, if we had the bandwidth, the money, the wherewithal, and I'm sure there are people who are doing stuff like that. So, I mean, if there is anybody out in the community looking at something like that, we would love to hear about it and we can help you promote it. So definitely reach out to us. You can email us podcast@phoenixstormradio.com. You can join us on our Discord. We're really open to being a huge part of this community and help spread some of those things. So let us know. We're interested in that kind of stuff. Anything else? Any final thoughts from you, Sarah?
Oh, it is just like it's kind of exciting to see what's coming up. To be like, as much as I have loved the entire arc of Zodiac and Heidel and the Ascians, all that, it was something that's been going on for so long and has gained such that it's kind of exciting to be like, hey, here's this new thing, here's this any feeling again like anything's possible, like we could have all of these like new and exciting adventures. I'm looking forward to it in a way I haven't for a while.
Yep, the events like this are what really rebuild my love for the game. I've really slacked off on it. I haven't played, I haven't logged in regularly into this game in probably 8 months, to be honest with you. I log in on a semi-regular basis to maintain my house and the FC house, and to do a few things, but I still have not played patch 6.4.
Eesh. Let me know if you need me to make you some crafted gear, man.
No, I mean, I think my item level is fine for that.
All right.
Because I mean, I ran all the other content through 6.3 and 6.3.5, so I've got all the decent stuff from there. I just need to get caught up with Manderville weapons and run through the storyline. So I mean, I don't think I'm that far out. The only thing I need
Klauss
to do
Nightbringer.
Yeah, what is my eye level? It's I think it's decent.
Oh, does it actually show? It shows me your gear.
High enough to get into the dungeons.
We're looking at 610s here.
Okay, and what's the current?
I mean, I craft at about 640, 645, I want to say.
Really? Maybe I haven't played as.
I'll make you something better.
We'll figure it out. It is. Yeah, Rory, I know. Like, I've just had a lot of other things in my real life that I've been taking on now at this point. So I've had to prioritize a little differently. I had more time for Final Fantasy 14 before getting into a relationship. So yeah, and honestly, I wouldn't trade it. I'm very happy with what I've got right now. So I'll play when I have the time. Occasionally, she does force me to play some games, which is how I've been gotten 45 hours now into Final Fantasy 16. I just want to get back into that game again. It's so good. So good.
Maybe we shouldn't keep you too long.
Yeah,
so you can get back to it.
She's waiting for me upstairs, so I'll be dealing with her in a little bit instead, and very happily. So, and I'm getting a little hungry, so I think it's time for some dinner. So with that, that's going to do it for this episode, guys. If you liked what you heard, please make sure to like, subscribe, or follow us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or whatever your preferred podcatcher is. And if possible, leave us a rating or review. It lets us know how we're doing and lets other people find our show. If you really dig the show, please consider subscribing to us here at twitch.tv/PhoenixDownRadio, where you'll get access to a number of subscriber-only emotes or badges. Or if you really want to support us, you can go out to patreon.com/PhoenixDownRadio, like our benevolent overlord, Rory Fenrir, our secret of Nevermore Ravenheart, or our resident slacker, Nick Nar. All proceeds go towards growing the show, cover things like hosting costs, allow us to improve and upgrade our equipment, as well as do a lot of fun things like contests and giveaways. But any kind of support, whether it's emails, likes, tweets, retweets, follows, subs, whatever, it's all greatly appreciated. We really like interacting with you guys and the rest of the community. If you want to catch up on our backlog of episodes or just check out what's going on with Phoenix Down Radio, you can go out to our website, phoenixdownradio.com. If you have questions, comments, suggestions, or just want to say hi, you can always send us an email, podcast@phoenixdownradio.com. You can check out all of the backlog of our video podcasts if you out at youtube.com/PhoenixDownRadio. And we do still have a Facebook group out at facebook.com/PhoenixDownRadio. Seyrr, do you have any shout outs?
I'm going to shout out some of my various friends who have been very nice with providing late night conversation when I was still slogging through summer camp rosters and things like that. Thank you for helping me stay sane and vaguely focused on getting stuff done so I didn't have to stay up until 3. I stayed up until 3 anyways, but it was playing games and not for work. So victory. So big shout out to my friends Mark and Ariana, Safest Sephiroth from the Crucible we all remember and love. Who else?
That's maybe stretching it a little bit.
Yeah, he's great.
He knows it.
He's an acquired taste, but worth acquiring. Also to Sophia Deershell, Aria Liss, and Alan Brain. God, I can't remember your character's last name out. Hang on. Friend list. How the heck does it sort this thing? This is unusable. Shout out to Alum, you know who you are. And Nehelenia, with whom I have been watching. We just finished season 2 of The Good Place because she is doing post-grad work in England, and so stuff happens at odd hours to keep us both sane and hanging out. And it has been very nice to share The Good Place with someone. I am obsessed with that show. So yes, big shout out to all of you and to everyone else who shares a kind word, a fun distraction that just exists alongside the rest of us. It's nice to have you all in our life.
It is indeed. And if they want to find you, you're out on our Discord?
Pretty much I'm out on my Discord. Like, that's like, I have it formally deleted, but I pretty much don't use Twitter, except it's not Twitter anymore. They forced through the update where
it's X. My app updated this morning. It's X now.
Yeah, mine updated yesterday. I refuse to dignify that. That is just stupid. I refuse to allow it as a thing.
Yeah. We're not going to talk about that. That's why we're talking about Discord.
So yes, find me on our Discord. Always nice to chat with you folks. Yeah,
phoenixdownradio.com/discord will get you to the Discord join page, or you can always you can email us and we can send you the link, or if you want it whenever. We're more than happy to get you in and join us, but the website is the best place to find access to a lot of our things. I want to shout out Seyrr. Thank you so much for taking the time to help again today. I know you've been very busy with your summer camps. You almost forgot we had a show today, but we got through it. Shout out to Goat Ridge Brewery in New London, Minnesota, for having an amazing, some amazing beers and a really ambient back patio area that was just so nice. They have a creek that runs through the back with and it's tree lined, and it is just gorgeous. I mean, it is so relaxing. We had a blast going there today. And shout out to my girlfriend for just being an awesome girlfriend and making me play video games in some cases and just supporting me. I'm getting her into video gaming now. One of her favorite games when she was a few years ago, she's a huge Harry Potter fan, and there was a sale this week on the Lego Harry Potter for Nintendo Switch. So I picked that up and I got her own controller, and she's currently upstairs playing through Lego Harry Potter years 1 through 4. So,
nice.
Shout out to her. Hope you're enjoying your time playing that. Shout out to everybody catching us live. Shout out to Alshalant for giving us a little bit of his take of his FanFest experience. We will maybe want to get some more from him in a future episode. That'd be really cool. And shout out to everybody who joined us live here at Twitch. We do really appreciate all of you guys. So for my co-host Seyrr Tomono, I'm Klauss and Seyrr, and wishing everybody a wonderful evening. Thanks for joining us. Take care.
Phoenix Down Radio is a production of PhoenixDownRadio.com and Illusion Productions. Final Fantasy XIV and Eorzea are trademarks of Square Enix. In-game content for Phoenix Down Radio is the copyright of Square Enix. Opening music for Phoenix Down Radio is provided by Guilty Gear Rock You. Check out the Metal Chocobo theme cover and many other music videos at youtube.com/Guilty Gear Rock You. Closing music for this episode is provided by Guitar Wanker 90. Please check out their full version of Matoya's Cave and other rock video game covers at youtube.com/Guitar Wanker 90. The views and opinions expressed in this episode are those of Phoenix Down Radio and its hosts and do not reflect the views of Square Enix.